Gentlemen, there we go. I like this little touch here. It's kind of clever.
That is clever.
All right, here we go.
That's good.
Yeah. It means we're starting. All right, good morning. This is the Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 Tarrant County Commissioners Court meeting. I now call the meeting to order.
Tim O'Hare, County Judge.
Present.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Elisa Simmons, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Present.
Manny Ramirez, Commissioner Precinct 4. Constables quorum.
All right, thank you. Today's invocation will be led by Pastor Jay Caprietta from Essential Church in Watauga. Please rise for the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Good morning, everyone, and we thank God for the leaders present, Judge Tim O'Hare and all the commissioners that have the privilege to serve the people of Tarrant County. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, God, we come before you with gratitude for this opportunity to gather and for the leaders who serve this great county. We thank you for their dedication, their willingness to lead, and the trust placed in them to make decisions for the good of the community. Lord, we ask for your wisdom to rest upon Judge O'Hare and the commissioners today. Guide them with clarity of mind and heart as they deliberate and on important matters affecting the lives of over 2 million people. And may their decisions reflect justice, mercy, and truth, and aligned with your will for this community. Father, we pray that every decision made in this meeting would be rooted in justice and fairness, and help our leaders to uphold the dignity and rights of every resident, particularly the most vulnerable. And may they be mindful of the needs of the marginalized and make choices that promote fairness for all, and Father, the well-being of all. And so we pray for unity among the commissioners, and even in, Father, may they work together in a spirit of cooperation for the common good. And Lord, we ask that you bless this county with peace and harmony. Let the actions of this court contribute to the flourishing and peace of mind for every household within Tarrant County. Lord, we lift up the people of Tarrant County, asking for your hand of protection over every family, business, and community, and provide for the needs of this county, both physically and economically. Guide the stewardship of the resources entrusted with this court, and so that Tarrant County would continue to thrive. So, Father, we commit this meeting into your hand today, asking that every word spoken and every decision made today would be led by your Spirit. And may your peace and favor rest upon this court and the people of Tarrant County now and always, in Jesus' mighty name. And everybody say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated.
I did it.
Good morning, court members.
Yeah, Halloween deal up here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a couple of quick announcements, court members. We have 3 items that have been pulled from the consent due to audience participation. Those items are C6, G1, and G2. Also, court members, under the Criminal District Attorney's Office section, E1, we are not asking court to take action on that item today. That will probably come back at a later court meeting, and subsequently, we will not have a closed session today due to that fact. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Announcements from our commissioners. Anybody have anything?
I do. Good morning. I have two events coming up, and Elections Town Hall. The title is Elections Town Hall, Are Our Elections Secure? Come and find out. It's October 17th. It's Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Arlington Sub Courthouse. Let's see. And our Halloween Family Fun Fest is October 31st, which is Halloween Day, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Tarrant County Sub Courthouse in Mansfield. So all of your families are welcome, and we'll have lots of county and community resources out there, in addition to treats.
All right, anyone else? Okay, takes us to our proclamations, resolutions, and presentations section. The first item up is recognition of the 2024 United Way campaign kickoff. I believe HR is going to handle that one. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to address the court today and for accommodating us on your agenda. I am here representing Human Resources, the county, serving as the Community Resource Coordinator. I believe we've met for employees listening and citizens. My name is Shirley Albert, and we are so thrilled to launch our 36th Annual Employee United Way campaign. We have some special guests that I would love to introduce representing the United Way of Tarrant County. For our guests, feel free to wave, stand if you would like. We have Dearica Smith, who serves as our Corporate Relations Manager, Monita Butler, who serves as the Senior Admin Support Specialist, and Marsha Etz, who serves as the Developmental Director. So thank you for joining us and representing. Today, to our county employees and the Commissioner's Court, your participation supports many local organizations in Tarrant County and makes a significant impact to our community. Tarrant County initiated its first United Way campaign 36 years ago, which was in 1988. And last year, our employees pledged this to $50,000. This year, we are so excited to continue our tradition of generosity and introduce some innovative fundraising ideas for our employees to engage in. Campaign coordinators are ready to kick off their efforts and will be sharing updates through occasional newsletters countywide for employees to participate in. This campaign will run until December 31st. So, to end these remarks, let's make this a remarkable year by coming together to support our community through United Way. And thank you for your time and support. We would love to kick off with a campaign coordinator kickoff picture. Staff members who want to join, and if the Commissioner's Court would also join us for a picture, that would be great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Roy, is Clifford Brooks here?
No, it's already presented. For ratification.
Before I knew. Yeah. Okay, thank you, ladies. Next up is a congratulatory resolution for the Honorable L. Clifford Davis celebrating his 100th birthday. It has already been presented, but Commissioner Brooks.
Any of you who know the Honorable L. Clifford Davis know him to be a giant among men, and it was my privilege to present him with a resolution from this court this past Saturday night at the celebration of his 100th birthday. Your Honor, I move ratification of the resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to ratify this resolution to the Honorable Clifford Davis. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously 4-0. Next up, we have a proclamation recognizing Tina Glenn for 33 years of outstanding service to Tarrant County. Commissioner Brooks.
Well, Tina Glenn has had an amazing run of service with Tarrant County government. I have known Tina since my very first day of service at Tarrant County, and I have had occasion to say recently that Tina and I grew up together in county government. Tina, it's been a pleasure to have served with you, and it's a pleasure to honor you with this resolution upon the occasion of your retirement. And it reads, whereas Tina Glenn has served Tarrant County as the Director of Human Resources since 2006. And whereas Tina Glenn first joined Tarrant County as Assistant Director of Personnel / HR Manager in 1991, which was the year I joined Tarrant County. Then was named Acting HR Director in 2005 before being promoted to HR Director in 2006. And whereas Tina Glenn spearheaded a number of important programs and procedures as HR Director, including policies related to family medical leave, American Disabilities Act, new hire processing, and workers' compensation. And whereas Tina Glenn was a founding member of the Public Employees Benefits Cooperative in 1998 and is the last remaining board member who has served since its inception. And whereas as HR Director, Tina Glenn has worked directly with department heads and elected officials by advising them on HR issues and conferring on employment matters, benefits, compensation, and other HR issues. And whereas on October 31st, 2024, Tina Glenn will retire from Tarrant County after serving the citizens of Tarrant County for over 33 years and a career in public service of more than 39 years. And whereas we congratulate Tina Glenn upon her upcoming retirement and her dedication to Tarrant County, and the lasting imprint she made on Tarrant County employees in her role as Human Resources Director. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize Tina Glenn for her 33 years of service to Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 15th day of October 2024. Your Honor, I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to honor Miss Tina Glenn. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Very nice.
Well, I want to thank the court very much for recognition this morning. I want to thank Commissioner Brooks. I have often said myself that I've grown up here at the county. I was 26 years old when I started here, and it seems like yesterday. My plan was to work 3 to 5 years, and then here I am 33 years and 9 months later. So one does not have a career that spans decades without lots of love and support and encouragement. And so I want to take a few minutes this morning, if I can, to recognize a couple of individuals who have loved and supported me. So at the top of my list is my husband, Robert. Robert is here. So as you can tell, Robert is not shy. So Robert and I have been married for 35 years. We were a newly married couple when I started here at the county in 1991. We have, in the 35 years, had three children. They are grown now. We have two grandkiddos. So 3 kids and 2 grandkids. Robert has been my partner in every way possible. He's been my biggest supporter. He's been my cheerleader. He actually supported me going to graduate school when our youngest was in kindergarten. So my 5-year-old started kindergarten on the very first day that I started my master's program. And so my husband, during that time, never complained, not once. He took care of a 5-year-old and I guess a 10-year-old. How far are kids apart? Anyway, our daughter is 9 years older. So he was responsible for both those kids and getting them to school and getting them to their practices and did it the entire time without complaint. And so he deserves recognition today. So he's at the top of my list. I want to thank our children, Cleve, Jordan, and Trey. They are my heart, and being their mom has been a blessing every day. To my HR family, many of whom are here today, they are the absolute best. I could not have done my job without their support. And I want to say thank you to them for the work that they do every day for employees and for the citizens of this great county. To my extended county family, who number in the thousands, thank you for your camaraderie, for your love and your grace when it was needed. I think we did great things together. To Robin Worthy, who is here this morning. Robin was the former assistant director. To Ange, who is the current assistant director. The two of them have supported me, have loved me, have encouraged me, and on occasion have humbled me when I needed to be humbled. They have had my back all of these years, and I call the two of them my ride or dies. And so I want to thank them this morning for what they've been in my life and what they are in my life. To G.K. Manius, who's ever present in this building. Actually, of course, the building is named after him, so how could he not be? So G.K. and I worked together over 33 years. G.K. is my mentor, and he is my friend. I consider it an honor and a privilege to have had the opportunity to work with G.K. For all of those years. To Chandler, who is my current boss. Chandler is a true leader servant, and he works hard to build consensus. All the best to you, Chandler, and to your family. To Commissioners Court members, thank you for always putting our employees first. For that, we all thank you. And finally, I want to acknowledge Gerald Wright. Gerald Wright was Director of Human Resources when I began here in 1991. Gerald, unfortunately, passed away unexpectedly in 2005. That was the year of Katrina and Rita. So that was a pretty traumatic year in many ways. I said I was not going to do this. Thank you.
As we say in the Black church, take your time.
Hear that often. So I've tried every day.
We love you, Tina.
This is very difficult because we were on our way home from Houston when we got the word that Gerald had passed away. It was a very, very traumatic day for us because Gerald has been so important in our life. And so this is very difficult, having to acknowledge him in his passing. He was a great leader. He was a great boss to her. And he was definitely a county employee. And so these things are difficult for us. And we love Gerald, we love Cherry, and so gotta get through this.
Oh, no, thank you. So, he comes in handy on occasion. So in closing, thank you, Robert. I want to say what a blessing and a privilege has been to serve alongside my county family for over 33 years. The best to all of you, and Godspeed. Thank you.
Tina, maybe I'll see you at QT as much as I see Robert.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Robert. All right, next we have a resolution, another retirement for Benny Medlin. Commissioner Brooks.
Benny Medlin's service at Tarrant County has been nowhere near as long as Tina Glenn's, but his impact is every bit as forceful, long-lasting, in that he has touched the lives of thousands of young people who have come through the juvenile justice system. And I appreciate Benny for his compassionate leadership of that system, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present him with the following resolution, which reads, whereas Benny Medlin was born in Dallas, bless your heart, graduated from David W. Carter High School in 1977, received a bachelor's degree in psychology from Panhandle State University and a master's degree in criminal justice and criminology from the University of Texas at Arlington. And whereas Benny Medlin began his professional career with the Dallas County Juvenile Probation Department, served as superintendent of Bartow Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Bartow, Florida, superintendent of Leon Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Tallahassee, Florida, division chief executive officer with Ramsey Youth Services, Inc. in Coral Gables, Florida. Vice President of Juvenile Operations with Youth Services International, Inc. in Sarasota, Florida. And returned to Texas in 2005 as the first African American to serve as Assistant Director, Deputy Director, and Chief Probation Officer of Tarrant County Juvenile Services, where he received the Fort Worth Business Press Minority Leaders in Business Award in 2018. And whereas Benny Medlin has been an active leader in his community, serving on numerous boards and commissions, including the Texas Probation Association Board of Directors, Mental Health Connection of Tarrant County, Juvenile Justice Standards and Training Commission, North Texas Juvenile Chiefs Association, Fort Worth ISD After School Coordinating Board, Project Safe Neighborhood Juvenile Justice Committee, and Shaken Baby Alliance Advisory Board, and the North Texas Juvenile Justice Executive Planning Committee. And whereas Benny Medlin has provided invaluable leadership and guidance on many significant projects and challenges the county has faced, and will forever be regarded as a respected member of our community, whose impact will remain as a central element of the continued success of the Tarrant County community. And whereas Benny Medlin has been married to his wife Jerry for 33 years, is the proud father of 3 adult children, Christopher, Brandon, and Sydney, and is a doting grandfather to his 2 grandchildren. And whereas Benny Medlin will retire from Tarrant County having professionally and compassionately served the citizens of Tarrant County for 19 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize and commend Benny Medlin for his years of dedicated service and for a legacy of bringing resources, support, and empowerment to the citizens of Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 15th day of October, 2024. And with that, Your Honor, I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
Judge, Commissioners, if you had told a younger me in 1982, when I started my career in Dallas County, that I would do this work for 42 years, and I would work more time in Tarrant County than Dallas County, and that my mother at 86 would be here to see all of this, I would tell you none of those things would happen. Here with me is my mother and my three sisters. My wife and daughter are traveling out of the country and couldn't be here. And my wife retired 2 years ago, and anybody know her, know she's always on the move. So they're traveling today. But all of those things have happened. I've been doing this work for 42 years. I've done this work more in Tarrant than I've done it in Dallas. And the reason why that's significant is because I was motivated to get into this work by the first African-American juvenile probation officer in Dallas County. And so I went off to school to pursue a degree to allow me to do this kind of work, and I got on with Dallas County. Now, I'm getting on the record with that because I just heard my mother tell someone a little earlier that she's the one told me to get into juvenile justice. I won't argue with her about that, but that was my motivation. But so I've been fortunate enough to go to school to do something that I wanted to do and have some success in it. And then to be here today after 42 years and having my sisters and my mother to be able to celebrate this time is really important. I just want to thank this court that's been very supportive of our department all of these years, particularly the commissioners that have allowed us to office in their sub-courthouses, Commissioner Simmons, Fickus, Ramirez. We don't have an office in Commissioner Brooks, but we have a big footprint in your precinct, and of course the judge is on our board. And we've enjoyed great support from the departments. I don't like to call names, but Helen has been a great support. Chandler in the county administrator's office, HR, everybody has been a huge support. But of course, we don't do this work by ourselves. We don't get to this place by ourselves. You have to have good people around you. And I have worked in a lot of different places with a lot of different people, and the people that I've had an opportunity to work with here in Tarrant County, particularly Tarrant County Juvenile Services, are the best people that I've had an opportunity. And if y'all will indulge me just for a minute, I would just ask that the people from Tarrant County Juvenile Services that are here today, if you would just please stand, just to be recognized. They didn't come here to be recognized, but I rarely get a chance to recognize them. But I want you to know Tarrant County Juvenile Services is in good hands with these folks. They're good people. They're doing this work for all the right reasons, and I couldn't be standing here without their support for all of these years. So thank you again for this recognition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, this concludes the retirement portion of our program. So now we go to a proclamation for Children's Environmental Health Day. This is sponsored, I guess you would say, by Commissioner Ramirez. He's asked me to read it and present it. So this is in honor of Children's Environmental Health Day. Children's Environmental Health Day was established in 2016 by the Children's Environmental Health Network to raise awareness about the significance of clean air and water, safe food, healthy environments, and stable climates for children's health and development. CEH Day, as it's known, is observed on the second Thursday in October as a means to celebrate the progress of the children's environmental health movement and create a strong network of child health advocates. This national initiative encourages individuals and organizations to promote awareness and understanding of children's environmental health issues, advocate for improved protections for all children, and engage in acts of sustainability or environmental health wellness. Tarrant County recognizes the need to protect the health, safety, and well-being of our most precious resource, our children. Together we can safeguard the health, safety, and well-being of our children. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim Thursday, October 10th, 2024, as Children's Environmental Health Day in Tarrant County, and urge all citizens to observe this day with awareness raising and environmental health and stewardship activities to create a healthier environment for our children. And I'll make a motion that we adopt this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes 4-0. And I think present today to receive this is Jessica Price. Jessica, come on up. She's the Eco Healthy Care Program Manager for the Children's Environmental Health Network. And I'm going to present this to you, and then you're welcome to say a few words here. Come on, we'll have you right here with the microphone again. Right that way.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Price. It's really hard to follow a lot of these people that were here. I can just say that I'm honored to live in Tarrant County and for you guys to recognize our work. So Children's Environmental Health Network has been around for about a little over 30 years. I started my job in February, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of y'all in the future as I bring more of the resources that have been mostly isolated to the north of the country to Texas. We have a lot of projects going on, so I really appreciate your support at this point in their career, and thank you on behalf of the children of the state of Texas for supporting this.
Thank you. Next up, we have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Now, that brings us to 10A1, which is to consider the fiscal year 2025 contract between Tarrant County and Tarrant County Hospital District for funding of specified county programs. Kristen.
Thank you. Good morning. So item 1 actually serves as the funding mechanism for the Tarrant County Public Health Department operations, or a portion of those, for the RAP program, which you'll see under item 2, and also for the third item on the agenda, which is mental health services for inmates housed in Tarrant County's jail system. So item 1 is that funding contract.
Move approval.
All right, I'll second it. Any questions or comments for Kristen? All right, seeing none, we do have one speaker, Ms. Cox.
I'm Gerald and Jackie Cox. Obviously, from my history of things I say to you, you know that I support mental health and public health and services that are needed for counseling in the jail. All of those are desperately needed functions. And it's not wrong that some of the money for that comes from the hospital district. What bothers me is that there's so little money when you consider the measure of the need. We have $64,500 to provide Medicaid services for people who are going to be on parole and probation. There are many of them. When they return from the prisons, they usually have nothing. If they don't have family here to support them, they are going to be in such dire need that they'll probably end up back in prison again for things like inability to pay their probation fees. It's just a very sad situation that they're in. I'm glad that a little is being offered in their support. I'm sorry that so little is offered. I also note that what we're doing is making $13 million goes to support public health. Well, public health, I'm sure, needs the money, and I support that. But I'm sorry to see that only $8 million goes to provide mental health services to inmates in the jail. I remember again this terribly sad story of Georgia Baldwin, who spent something like 6 or 7 months in the jail and got something like 18 minutes of contact services for mental health needs when she was obviously a person who needed mental health services more than she needed to be put in solitary confinement in the jail. And her offense was to make threatening remarks, crazy, out of her mind threatening remarks to a police officer. That's not worth a death penalty, and she died for it. So I hope that going forward, somewhere, somehow, you'll come up with more money for mental health in the jail. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to second on this item. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Next up, item A2 is consideration of fiscal year 2025 contract between Tarrant County and MHMR to provide rehabilitative alternative for probationers and parolees program services.
Yes, thank you. Also known as RAP, the RAP program. So this is a contract with MHMR to provide those services. The amount of $64,500 is actually a match that the county provides to the larger grant that MHMR has, our contract with the state. So I know that we do have representatives from MHMR here if anyone has questions about items 2, 3, or 4 as we go through them.
All right,
Move approval.
All right, I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion?
I do have some comments and questions about 2, 3, and 4, so we can.
Last Susan Vernon with MHMR.
Hey, Susan. So I am always in favor of solutions that address mental health and reduce recidivism, like Ms. Cox spoke about, and to prevent jail from being a solution for mental health. That's why I continue to support the Mental Health Diversion Center, and I hope we have that for years to come. However, I'm interested in how these programs are operated and have questions about the impact of the programs. Do you measure? Is there a report? Is there something we can see that quantifies the impact of these programs?
Is this for Project WRAP?
Yes.
Okay, so Project WRAP is a program that I appreciate the discussion about how it's financed, and we certainly appreciate the match funding provided by the county. Just to let you know, we also receive about $2.5 million of state funding for that program. The program is oriented toward individuals who have we'll start on the parole side first. They've been in prison. They receive mental health services in prison. The prison system is prepared to parole them, but believes that they will need continuing mental health services in the community in order to be successful. So in those cases, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, through its agency on offenders with mental impairments, assigns those people to receive services. We also serve people who are on probation. So that would be somebody who might have been in Tarrant County Jail and is now going to receive probation and, again, needs to continue to receive mental health services. So we have the state funding and then this additional match funding. So the state has a number of very precise requirements regarding the delivery of service, and the state, you won't be surprised to know, provides voluminous tracking around what happens to each one of those offenders to ensure that the funding is being spent to achieve the things that the state wants to achieve. And ultimately what the state wants to achieve is to ensure that individuals don't return to the prison system or don't return to jail.
So, how many folks in 2023 were impacted? How many folks did we serve through our WRAP program? How many did we hopefully prevent from going back? What are the metrics, and do you have those impact reports?
So I don't have those metrics with me right now, but I can get them for you. But what you probably would be interested in knowing is that there are about 550 people in our community who are served by this project. That would mean people who either are on probation and parole and receiving mental health services. And mental health services would be a visit to a psychiatrist, but it would also mean case management, making sure that their housing is working for them, making sure that they're trying to get a job, that we have the things that are happening in their lives are happening okay. We work very closely with both the parole officers and the probation officers to make sure that we're all aligned in understanding what's happening with those individuals. And the work with the parole and probation officers isn't about trying to identify violations. It's really about trying to get them back into participation in the program if they've drifted off, to make sure that people can successfully complete those programs. But I can get you the completion statistics for 23.
And how many staffers do you have that run this program?
Let me phone a friend. Do you know how many staff you have in RAP?
Commissioner, I might take a guess. And choose the next guesses, but I will give you probably around 30, 30 plus. We'll verify that number.
And that would include, we have a specialized clinic, so we have a highly experienced psychiatrist who's worked with this population for a number of years, and a very focused clinic experience, so that it has other people who have the same sort of experiences, so we have a lot of staff there and are able to just reach that population.
So are these folks screened for behavioral and mental health, or they come straight to you via referral?
So for an individual who has been in the Texas prison system, when the Texas prison system is preparing their parole, if they have received mental health services, and if the prison system believes the mental health services were necessary to get through the prison experience, then they want them to continue those mental health services in the community. So when that happens, the individual who's leaving a prison leaves with certain instructions of things they're supposed to do. They have to report to a certain location for housing. They have to report to a parole officer, and they have to report to the RAP program. So they have usually about 72 hours to get all of that initial reporting done. Once they are involved with us, we then help them make all the other things work.
Okay.
And probation is slightly different because in probation, an individual is placed on probation, and the evaluations are done as to what's necessary to make probation successful. And then if the probation officer believes they need mental health services, they're then referred to us. The RAP program does not have a waiting list, so anybody referred to it is going to get into it.
And so it ends once you're off probation or parole. Okay.
There's no longer any authority to keep you in the program. Now, you might still continue to receive services from us, but you'll just transition to regular services from us. You'll no longer be required, and we won't be required to report if you fail to come in and things like that.
What if somebody's released and once they get home, their family says, oh, our person has behavioral or mental health issues? Can a family refer to the RAP program, or does it come from the state?
So the RAP program requires that the referrals come from probation and parole.
Gotcha.
But any family, whether their loved one is involved with probation or not, can certainly refer to us and for state-funded mental health services. And we also at this time don't have a waiting list, and so we're able to get everybody into services who reaches out for services. You may have a wait for a broad array of services, but you're going to get into services, and we're going to be able to figure out what's going on, and we're going to triage, and the people who have the most need are going to get more services more quickly than somebody who may have lesser needs.
All right, thanks. That's good to know. Thank
Anything
you.
else?
All right, any other questions or comments on item 2? All right, we do have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next up is item A3, consideration of fiscal year 2025 contract between Tarrant County and MHMR of Tarrant County to provide behavioral health and intellectual disability services to inmates in the Tarrant County jail system. Kristen, is that you?
Yes, sir, it is. Item 3, so this is also MHMR. Susan is also here if there are specific questions about this one. This contract was also funded under item 1.
All right, I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right,
I do need to be reminded. So what happens, Susan, when how are arrestees screened once they get to the jail?
How are they what?
Screened.
Screened. So in Texas, the state of Texas has established a screening form that all county jails do when an inmate is processed in. And that jail screening form is designed not to be done by a clinician. It is designed to be done by a jailer. So it has a series of questions, and its intention is to screen, to say, is it possible this person might need more attention? So a question might be, has the person ever been in special education? So that's a good question to say, maybe something to pay attention to here, but it doesn't really tell you a lot. But so we do this the initial screening is done in the jail, and we call them positive hits, that if somebody might be screened positive there. And if so, then the person proceeds to the MHMR staff that are funded through this contract for an assessment. An assessment is a more sophisticated review of what's happening with the person. And that's when we're going to be talking about, have you ever been on medications? And when was the last time you were? Did you ever see a psychiatrist? And those kinds of things that are going to help us understand, have you been more recently under mental health care? We're also going to have an opportunity to look into the state's information system on all people in Texas who have received mental health services. So we're going to know if you might have at some point in your past been hospitalized in a state mental health facility, or whether you might have received mental health services from another publicly funded entity like ours. We're not going to know if you've received private mental health services, but we'll know if you've received publicly funded mental health services. That's who's in the state information system. So that information is going to help us establish and make recommendations to the jail about the need for continued mental health services while somebody's in jail. The individual in the course of their processing into the jail will also see JPS staff, and JPS is doing a health assessment, but health includes mental health. So they're also taking another look for, is there something else that needs to be brought to our attention? And so our systems communicate back and forth regarding people's needs. And then all of this is the information that's used for the jail to make decisions regarding the housing of the inmate, if the inmate might actually need to be in the specialized mental health housing, or does the individual need to go to general housing, those kinds of things. All that initial processing information is done for that purpose.
And what's the time frame for that processing?
Let me focus.
Approximately.
It's all supposed to be done in booking. And
Okay.
if for some reason someone doesn't make the booking, we've got like a few hours afterwards to catch them. So it's generally almost 100% done in booking.
So then how long does it take to book somebody in?
They try to get in and out within 4 hours.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any other discussion before we bring up speakers? All right, first up is Nan Terry, followed by Julie Griffin, and then Reed Bills.
Good morning. I want to speak on both items 3 and 4. I want to use my time for item 3 to educate and ask questions. I hope this complements what Susan said. The continuity of care query, CCQ, is defined as an exact or probable match. An exact or probable CCQ match indicates some prior contact with the public mental health system, whether at a facility like MHMR or another place similar to that across the state or a state hospital. This data match process helps to flag individuals who may have a mental health need or who may be eligible for a continuity of care services. The CCQ is complemented by this mental health screening Susan mentioned. CCQ is the rationale for the mental health alert system. How is that upgrade coming? The Commission on Jail Standards provided the following information to me regarding individuals who have died this year in our jail. Russell Qualls was a probable match. Harold Roberts and Ronald Reese were not matches. Roderick Johnson was no match. Harold Roberts was an individual who came from the state hospital, but nobody did a match on them. That's kind of unusual. Anthony Johnson was a probable match. Chastity Bonner was a probable match, as well as McClendon Caldwell. The what ifs resound when looking at this list and thinking of the probable matches. Could we have stopped those deaths because we knew more? If this contract isn't an appropriate place for CCQ review, where should it be? Thank you. Regarding contract number 4, I would like to use my time to implore the commissioners to work with MHMR and other leaders within the community to raise the wages for those individuals working with our citizens classified as IDD. I will badly quote, but last year Ms. Garnett was mentioned in a media story as cringing when a local fast food restaurant was able to offer better benefits and higher pay than the employees working with our IDD residents. Let's work together to rectify this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Ms. Griffin is Ms. Bills.
Good morning. I'd like to focus my comments this morning on specifically the IDD community. These names we all know. Chastity Conjas, whose baby Zenora died in the jail from its neglect of Chastity, who gave birth alone in a jail cell. Kelly Maston, who nearly died in the jail from negligence found by her family with bruises all over her body. And Kyrie Campbell, who might have died in the jail if a massive community outcry had not taken place to urge his removal from jail. These are persons we know with IDD who suffered trauma in our jail. I wonder about all those we do not know who are developmentally or intellectually disabled and are in our jail right now. I wonder about the numbers. and the situations these individuals were involved in that landed them in the confines of the criminal legal system. We know that Chastity Conjus, Kelly Messon, and Kayuri Kimball, in states of agitation and distress, may have struck caregivers and were then charged with violent offenses. This is not an uncommon occurrence. Here's the question: do they belong in a jail? The expectations spelled out in this contract are that staff, quote, works to divert the individual from the criminal justice system into an alternative program more suited to the individual's needs. This charge includes, quote, referral to community support services for housing or financial assistance. In a data request, I've learned that over a 24-month period between August 2020 and July 2023, a random selection of months shows an average monthly number of 50 probable matches of IDD persons taken to Tarrant County Jail. This means that each of these persons had prior contact with the state mental health facility or LMHA when they were brought to the jail. Does the county exercise oversight to ensure MHMR is diverting its IDD clients from the criminal justice system into alternative programs? Are IDD persons brought to the jail and released without booking back to unhoused communities? Data I received suggests that this happens. Once their clients are in the jail, is it a communication gap between jailers and the MHMR staff? Do we need to tighten the contract to include more vigorous communication protocols between the two staffs? Possible solutions for the county and MHMR to consider: make the Mental Health Jail Diversion Center have a wing for IDD clients to get care, housing, meds, therapy appropriate to their individual needs. Because you're spending millions in these contracts, please do due diligence and make sure our leaders follow through on their obligations. If lack of facilities for IDD persons is an issue, your long-term strategic plan must begin to incorporate and build them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bills?
I would like to again point out to the court that MHMR has not met the contractual requirements for services to at least one jail inmate, Georgia Baldwin. The contract requires that MHMR staff identify mentally ill inmates and provide on-site services 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. Services include screening and evaluation, recommendations for psychiatric treatment, counseling, and support. Georgia was identified as mentally ill at intake, but she did not receive the services she needed. She was incarcerated for 5 months, during which time she had a total of 5 visits from MHMR personnel. The contract further requires MHMR to divert individuals from the criminal justice system into an alternative program more suited to each individual's needs. Georgia was not diverted to a suitable facility, but instead was incarcerated without proper care or monitoring until she died of severe dehydration. Before you renew this contract and spend $8 million of taxpayers' money, I ask that you order an investigation to discern how many other inmates were denied the care that they deserved, and that you add an accountability clause to this contract and establish an oversight process for ensuring that MHMR performs the services we are paying for in the future.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any other discussion before voting? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Next up is item 4, which is to consider a fiscal year 25 contract between Tarrant County, JPS, and MHMR to provide countywide behavioral health and intellectual disability services. I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Next item is consideration of out-of-state travel requests. Do we have a motion on this item?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the out-of-state travel requests. Any discussion there? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. We are now going to take a short recess. I have 11:05. We will be back in here at 11:10. We are now in recess. B1, Auditor? Okay. Okay. All right, we are back from a brief recess. We are now to item B1, which is from the Auditor. It's consideration of removing assets from the county's asset management system. Ms. Buchanan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. We are coming to you this morning to ask that you consider the removal of 26 computer assets with a net book value of 0. One thing I would like to point out is since this list was sent to court, IT continues to work through it. They have found 6 of what has happened to those. One is on a pallet, I believe he said, and they also have a police report for the others. So some of the things that we have worked with purchasing in IT this year throughout the actual whole process is we've updated some of the location codes. So now we will have a location code that the departments can utilize that will say these have been sent to auction, and so that they can be identified in the system so we know where they're actually located. And so with that, I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
So what are some of the circumstances surrounding the missing items?
Well, as I indicated, I think they've located one which is on a pallet to be auctioned off, and I think some of the others have been located on a police report. So that's what they were just identified as lost when it was sent to staff. They couldn't initially find the items or what happened to the items, and so record keeping, I would say, would be the primary thing that we need to work on in this situation. One thing that was implemented after these particular assets, I'm sure, were put out of service was an asset transfer sheet, an automated one. So that came in 22, which was after probably most of these had been out of service. Mm-hmm. And then again, this year we are working with IT to implement a location code. Now, if you want more specifics, Russ and Andre are here, and they could probably address more specific questions on the IT assets.
Okay, so Andre, how are we certain that these PCs or printers or whatever pose no security risk?
Well, for the majority of them, the drives are encrypted, and so without the user credentials, they cannot be unencrypted, so the information there will be safe. Also, with the tracking software that we use with the manufacturers now, if they are to be turned on, they are immediately wiped out remotely if they're connected to the internet. Mm-hmm. And so the security of the assets and the information contained therein is relatively well assured. Also, to connect to any of our systems, the authentication is via the user rather than the machine. So there would not be any opportunity for them to connect to our systems without having the proper credentials and updated passwords and everything else. So I think that the cybersecurity risk is at best de minimis, and probably better than that. Or actually at best de minimis.
Okay.
Or at worst de minimis.
That's all I've got.
Okay, any other questions on this item?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the removal of assets from the county's asset management system. Any discussion further? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. By the way, I like the graphic. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Item C, 1, Helen.
So we're requesting approval of items that are using undesignated fund for FY25 appropriation adjustments.
All right, move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion there? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Sir? Who does what? Those graphics? I don't know. Who does the graphics?
That'd be our communications division, sir.
That's thank you. All right, C, we now move to C6, which is from the consent agenda.
And we are seeking approval of the contract with MHMR for the Law Liaison Program. Just as a reminder, Commissioner Ramirez recognized this group in court about 2 court sessions ago.
Okay. All right, I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before a speaker? All right, seeing none, the speaker is Geraldine Jackie Cox.
Thank you very much. I'm Geraldine Jackie Cox. I and others in the little group I work with have been advocating for a long time about the need to improve training for members of the police departments so that they would know how to handle mental health emergencies without having to take people to jail. People who have mental health emergencies and go to the jail get worse instead of better. And so it's going to matter not only that you maintain this new program for training police officers and get it as widely distributed as you may, you're also going to have to maintain funding for the mental health center, which was left out of the budget, and we're still standing around thinking, well, where's the grant money for that going to come from? And why are we building more jail space and not more diversion space? And why are we not taking more seriously the need to be sure that people who have Class C misdemeanors don't go into the jail? They should be diverted to a courtroom for a Class C misdemeanor ticket type thing. I mean, it's a Class B, but it's the low-level marijuana charges. There are lots of them. And the people who can't afford a $500 fine spend their whole $180 sentence in jail, and then they get dismissed, and that's expensive. So please keep pushing. I'm so glad to see this diversion program. The training for the police officers is a PR thing that we really needed to do. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion or comments? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Next, we have E1. That's actually been removed from the agenda, so there will be no action from the court, but we have 3 speakers on this item. You're welcome to come up, or you can not if it comes on another agenda, whatever your choice. Julie Griffin, Charles Bills, and Geraldine Jackie Cox.
What number is that?
E1.
E1.
I'm here to speak about the outside counsel in the Johnson case. I believe that these contracts are signaling an intent to litigate the case. And I just want to talk for a minute about our society and how it's so litigious in litigation. And those words strike fear into the hearts of men and women. Suddenly the lawyers, like gods from on high, have descended, and we all have to sneak away, stay away. I don't think we need to do that. I think we have freedom. We have agency. And we can deal with each other as human beings with respect and dignity and not feel that we have to stay away once something is in litigation. So I think that it's time right now to negotiate a settlement with the Anthony Johnson Jr. family. If each of 15 defendants will require the county and therefore taxpayers to pay these legal fees to separate law firms, when the liability in the case is abundantly clear, it is profoundly wasteful. This family comes regularly to appear before you in grief and protest. Isn't it time now to finally show respect and honor the dignity of the family members by reaching some kind of an agreement? Why put a matter to the test that is so straightforward? Why prolong the conflict that has this community up in arms over what the sheriff as manager of the jail has done and has failed to do, administering to the needs of incarcerated and staff alike? Respect the family. Meet the family's lawyer to negotiate a settlement of the case right now. Do not load up the taxpayers with hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees on top of what will inevitably be awarded to the family as a settlement. Do your job and put this behind us while at the same time charting a course of accountability for the sheriff and the way our jail is run. Thank you.
Mr. Bills.
I understand that pretty much the Tarrant County is obligated to pay for lawyers for these Tarrant County employees doing while they're being employed. And I understand that the settlement that gotten from them is also paid by Tarrant County. So I want to repeat Julie's suggestion to just try to settle this as soon as possible. I suspect that it's being delayed until after the election so as to make the current sheriff not look as bad as he's looked. But these 15 people that are being sued, they have yet to get criminal charges, which they deserve. And also the video that exists of the entire incident has still not been seen. I'm sure it's going to be seen at the criminal trial, and I'm sure that his family wants that to be seen as part of their settlement. And I just recommend that everything get paid off. They're going to get their money, and just take care of it as best as you can, because it's going to save. It's just going to cost more money the more it's delayed.
Thank you. Ms. Cox.
Judge, my little notes reflect the next thing I'm to speak to you about is E3. And so you're going to get a pass on me this time.
Okay, I have one here for XE1, which is this, but we will not decline. Okay, so
I do have a few comments on this, even though it's been pulled. My position is that I think we need to go to mediation as quickly as possible on this case. My position as well is that we utilize the district attorney's office, our own law firm of sorts, to go to mediation in this case. I am opposed seeking an outside law firm at this point. I think it's irresponsible for us to have not even attended a mediation in good faith with our district attorney's office as the lead. We have a large and well-staffed DA's office that I believe can get this case mediated. And quite naturally, the longer that we prolong this, we sustain the pain that this family is experiencing at the loss of their brother, son, family member at our hands. So I think we need to be fiscally responsible, utilize our own assets, the DA's office, to get to mediation. If we hire an outside firm, the first thing they're going to do is what? Mediate. They're going to go to mediation. So why aren't we doing it in-house first? I'll stop there. I had lots more, but since this has been pulled, I'll stop there.
all right, we now move to item G1 from consent, which is to consider a commercial account right of entry agreement with Spectrum Enterprise for the installation of high-speed internet service at the Northwest Sub Courthouse. I'll move to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All right, we have one speaker, Sarah Sellers. Is Ms. Sellers here? Well, it's a motion and a second's been made, but you can speak before we vote.
Good morning. This is to the infrastructure, necessary infrastructure to support Next Gen 911, which will benefit all the jurisdictions within the Tarrant County 911 serving area. And it will also serve to benefit those that would like to have a Spectrum service in the telephone road facility as well. So.
Mike, anything you want to add? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Item G2, I believe this was pulled at my request.
Correct.
Yes. So what this is a consideration to approve amendment number 6 to the real property lease with Mercantile Partners for warehouse space. And the reason I pulled it, if you take a look at it, it looks like we spend $674,000 annually for this. Is that accurate?
That's for this current renewal,
Okay.
Judge.
Does that fluctuate from year to year?
Every 5 years.
Okay, so I have not checked the price of buying a warehouse in a very, very, very long time, but I wonder how long before paying this out we have well exceeded the price of buying our own warehouse.
Judge, from 2008 to this current contract, we've spent $4,950,000 on this lease space. I can tell you to build a new warehouse of this size, 82,000 square feet, at a very conservative $200 a square foot, plus a 22% soft cost, would be approximately $20 million. I can certainly research what it would take to lease a
Yeah,
or
so,
buy a current warehouse.
yes, thank you for that. I don't, I think, yes, you look at what it costs to build it, but I think you also look at what's available. And has anyone looked in the last 18 months at any warehouse of a similar size for sale anywhere in Tarrant County?
The last time we checked, Your Honor, was probably about 5 years ago, and it was considerably higher than this, but we have not done a check since then.
So if we were to not approve this today, what does that do? What's the effect?
So go ahead, Mike.
We can ask the Mercantile Partners if they will extend for us for an additional month, which they will. They'll let us just go for 1 month while we do that research.
Okay.
And then we could come back to the court with those numbers.
Well, that would be my recommendation to the court is as much money as we're spending annually, let's at least take a look at that and see if that's not a more prudent route.
So I just want Mike here sure they would extend for a month.
I feel certain. We've been a really good partner with them, and they have in the past worked with us on going month to month.
Okay. So if I wanted to make a motion to do what I just described, would I make a motion to table, or would I make a motion to draft documents to approve it for a month and come back with some in closed session real estate prices for similar properties? What would I say?
I may ask one thing too. Because the current lease ends at the end of this month, and we don't have a court action or a court meeting until the end of this month, I may suggest you authorizing the county administrator to sign an extension for 1 month, only for a month, so we can bring this back for a longer term look for the court.
Okay, so I'm gonna, we do have one speaker. I'm gonna make a motion that we authorize the county administrator to extend this lease by up to 60 days for the purpose of exploring other options for storing what we're storing, including but not limited to buying a building or exploring how to divide it up and look at other locations the county may have. That's my motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the court before we bring up a speaker?
I do.
Okay.
Where would you put this bill?
Well, I doubt very seriously building a building would be the best economical way to do it. So what I would do is go check the open market and look at some off-market properties to see what may be out there at what price just for comparison purposes, if no other reason. If we're not in a situation where, oh no, they've got somebody else on the hook, they're ready to kick us out and go, I just think that's the fiscally prudent thing to do, as opposed to continuing to drop whatever it is, $600,000, $700,000 annually into this. I mean, for how long? What's our plan? Do we have a plan to have this relocated next year, 5 years? I mean, it doesn't seem like we have one. We're just going to perpetually rent forever. So I think we should look at other options before we drop that kind of load. Okay.
We could do that.
All right. Other comments from the court or questions?
Does 60 days give you enough time to research it?
Well, we can certainly look in with our broker and find out quickly if there's spaces available and what that would cost. We certainly will start with Mercantile Partners. They may be interested in selling us this space.
Okay.
So we can certainly ask there and then from there expand out to other areas.
And the motion, I gave you 60 in case you don't have enough time in 30. I mean, do the diligence and look it up as fast as possible, assuming it passes.
We'll start making calls this afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, we have a speaker. This is...
Judge, I don't think we have a speaker on this
We
one.
don't?
I don't think so.
Yes.
G2? G1? Oh, it was G1.
Yeah,
You're right.
G1 was the
My
speaker.
mistake. My mistake. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. All right, after G2, we are now to J1, which is to consider the policy regarding the disposition of deceased paupers. Kristen.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I am available for any questions. Hopefully you've all had time to review this policy. This is a county requirement for Health and Safety Code Section 694002. We do not have a policy in place currently. A contract we had in place previously has expired as of yesterday, and so we now are proposing this policy for consideration.
Move approval.
I'll second it. And I'll also add thank you for bringing a policy. Thank you for the work you did on crafting the policy. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Thank you for your work on this policy. I appreciate you reaching out to the professionals that I suggested and hope they were helpful. The policy looks good to all of them, so thank you.
Thanks.
All right, motion and a second. With no further discussion, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to purchasing. Court members, please take a look and see if you have any questions for M1 through 8. If there are no questions, go ahead.
Move approval of M1 through 8.
No, I've got two. I've got M2. I have a question on M2.
Okay, do you want to ask it now?
Sure.
Let's do that.
So, first, I want to recognize and thank all those involved for the outstanding job that you've done on the county's backlog of truck purchases. You've gotten that caught up, it appears, and I understand the precincts have received nearly all of their backlogged truck orders since the team changed the process. So that's great. So what I did notice when I looked through this agenda item is that there are two distinctly different truck bids here for the fire marshal. One group of bids is for 3/4 ton trucks, but these are not apples to apples bids. I would hate for us to purchase 3/4 ton trucks that can't satisfy the full needs of the fire marshal and then need to turn around and buy a one ton truck later. So has the fire marshal, transportation departments and their teams looked and vetted and approved the choices here of the 3/4 ton over the 1 ton truck?
Yes, the fire
Everybody's straight.
marshal recommended that we add the 3/4 ton as well as the 1 ton because they did have both in their fleet, but decided to go with 3/4 ton because that was sufficient. They do have two 2019 3/4 ton trucks right now that do work for them. They just as long as they didn't get half-time, they knew that half-time would not support them. But 3/4 ton does fit their needs. And they will be replacing, I believe, a 2005 and a 2013 vehicle.
Okay.
But David is here if you have any additional questions.
No, that's good if they're good.
Okay.
And so for the purposes of the court communication, I think I probably wouldn't have caught this and had questions. I had to dig just to figure out how many trucks we wish to purchase. If y'all could clean that up in the future. I was going through that court communication. I saw a dollar amount, and so I was going, how many trucks is this? Then I asked my staff, how many trucks is that? So if y'all could kind of fix that, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Was that all your questions on 1 through 8?
No, I've got 7.
Okay.
So on this pest control, bee removal services, all that. So there is a one bidder that came in at $21,000, and the next closest bidder was $105,000. I know we go with the lowest bid, but shouldn't a price difference this dramatic raise a red flag? I mean, the 21,000, is he using a can of Raid or?
We did have a pre-bid meeting on this particular solicitation. Pest Proof has been providing service. They're our current vendor. They've been providing service for us for over 10 years. And we rarely receive any complaints about their service. And if they do need to come back out to redo a service, they will do that at no charge. So the price is in line with what we paid in the previous contract. There was an opportunity for the second vendor to come in and view our facilities, but they chose not to do so. So basically, they probably bid
guessed,
it without best guess.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve items M1 through 8. If there's no further discussion, we'll now vote.
Judge, did you not have a second yet?
I thought I seconded it. Okay.
Who made the motion?
I do. Roy made it. So Commissioner Brooks made it. So I'll second it. Yeah. Okay. Well, now we do. Motion and a second. All right. Any further discussion? All right. Please cast your vote. All right. Passes unanimously. Which takes us to M9, and we have a speaker on. We have several speakers on M9.
Item M9, we would like to only ask for permission to take bids on items A, B, C, and D, and hold item E.
So, A, B, C, and what?
A, B, C, D.
And what is D?
E is the annual contract for jail management services.
That's E, right?
Yes, that's E.
What's D?
D is for translation. Is that on there? Make sure.
Oh, here it is. I got it.
Yeah, translation and interpretation services.
Yep, got it. Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to grant permission to take bids and RFPs on items A, 9A through D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second there. Any discussion? Yeah, I'll get that after we vote since we're not voting on E. All right, any further discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, that passes unanimously. Okay, so the one that we did not just now consider because they asked it to be removed was the RFP for annual contract for jail management services. There are 4 people signed up to speak to that. Nan Terry is first. Reed Bills is next.
I actually think I signed up to speak on just 9M because If you read the agenda, it just says RFPs. It doesn't go into A, B, C, D, E. I also wish the new agenda software allowed for reading of items without requiring to download the files. The prior software allowed you to read the item to see if you wanted to download the files. The current software does not allow that. It's annoying. Not that y'all care. But state law codifies the responsibilities of the sheriff. One of the sheriff's duties is to manage and operate the jail. Over the last year, I've seen numerous job fairs to hire new detention officers. This court even hired an outside employment company to find new employees. I don't know for sure, but I heard, and we all know what heard means, but there were only 3 employees hired by that contract. Do we know the retention rates for the employees working as detention officers? Although we've pulled this from the item, I'd like to offer that before we send an RFP to hire an outside company for a duty the sheriff has, why don't we do an RFP to determine why the jail can't hire employees? Or an RFP to ask why people don't want to work as detention officers in our jail? Or don't stay if the retention rate is high? I think the contracting out of these functions is not the way for Tarrant County to go.
All right, Ms. Bills. Following Ms. Bills is Julie Griffin.
I'm speaking on item E. Hidden in this innocuous-sounding agenda item is a major change in the sheriff's chief job responsibility, managing the Tarrant County Jail. He is asking permission to relinquish this responsibility and seek bids for turning the job over to a private entity such as MTC, the company that failed to meet our temporary needs in Garza County. No details are included in the packet. The request is for various facilities, which could mean Cold Springs or every jail in the system. After our experience with the Garza prison, this court should be opposed, in principle, to the privatization of jail management. 3 weeks before an election that affects the sheriff's position is not a time to embark on such a conversion in his job description. As has been suggested here time and again, the way to ease the overcrowding problems in our jails is to stop incarcerating inmates who do not belong in jail in the first place. Or maybe it's time to consider my son's suggestion to hire people seeking asylum at the border as detention officers.
Next is Julie Griffin. Following Ms. Griffin is Ms. Cox.
Hi, I'd like to read from the language of the backup to this agenda item. The purpose of this contract is to provide jail management services for various facilities. The contract will have a mix of revenue and expenses dependent on the population mix of the inmates and external vendor contractor inmates. This contract will be used by the Sheriff's Office, and the primary contact is John Pilkington. As others have noted, this language is incredibly vague, and I hope that in future an agenda item will contain more specificity. For example, 1, which jail management services, 2, for which jail facilities, 3, for what time period, 4, for how much money, 5, under whose supervision and accountability chain. Isn't this our job for which our sheriff undertakes the duties? Is this some kind of admission that our jail is broken and only some private outfit can accomplish the job? Also, look at the timing. If there is a transition in administration of the jail in this election season, shouldn't such a task wait for the next occupant of the job? I imagine the argument for contracting out jail management and staffing services is that we do not have enough jail detention officers in relation to the population of the jail. Again, there are fixes for overpopulation. Divert, divert, divert to the Mental Health Jail Diversion Center, which is underutilized, to mental health court diversion programs, release on personal bonds for nonviolent low-level offenses, use cite and release for misdemeanors and even applicable nonviolent felonies, use the jury volunteer donations to pay fees that keep persons jailed. Our community is not safe when we keep people in jail that don't belong there. The people that need to be in jail, perhaps before trial, are of the hardened, violent category, a minute fraction of the people we jail continuously as we cycle them through unhoused communities and group homes in the streets in and out of jail. We do not need those with mental illness or intellectual disabilities in our jail. They need to be in appropriate facilities of care. So reduce the jail population. Don't outsource what is ours to manage and lead. Thank you very much.
Ms. Cox.
Geraldine Cox again. I have to say that I think that this posting is the worst admission of inability to figure out what to do about the jail that I have yet seen. Well, maybe we want to do this, maybe we want to do that. We haven't a clue. Let's hire an expert to tell us what we do. But this is right upon we're very close to an election. We might elect somebody who would know what to do, and not. It's just sad how inept that posting is, and it doesn't comply with the Open Meetings Act. The posting, as it was originally put up, was 5 bid items, all batch lotted together to be voted on. It looked like as one vote. And down at the very bottom was this, manage the jails. You can't just hire somebody to manage the jails. It's the chief job of the sheriff is to figure out how to do the jails. If he can't do it, that might be what we have to do. But I am reminded of what happened when you were supposed to be taking bids on what to build for a training facility, and we came back with bunches of options because we didn't write bid specifications sufficiently clear to get any kind of competition on the bid, and there was just one bidder who was willing to bid on 4 or 5 different things. And you don't get the benefit of competitive bidding when you do that. And the other problem is that you can't just outsource management of the jail without involving the Jail Standards Commission. There is a statute that governs what you may do when you hire somebody else to do the jails, and they have to go through and get permission from Jail Standards. And when we hired the people in Garza for a contract that was supposed to begin in September, we couldn't take in any inmates until mid-November because we didn't have things worked out with Jail Standards. So why don't we just wait and see how this election turns out, or at least find somebody who knows what we ought to do. Probably what we ought to do is figure out how not to take all those low-level Class B marijuana misdemeanors into the jail in the first place. We simply ruin people's lives. We don't improve them, and it costs us a lot of money. Our per inmate unit cost is probably running around $90 a day now. That's where it was before. It may be higher than that. And if we're just building space because we think we want to keep more people, I suggest what we need to do is figure out how to keep fewer people and make do with the space we have. And we need to get some training. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have appointments to boards or commissions. Do we have any board or commission appointments? All right, seeing none, we now move to public comments. Did you have something? Move to public comments. First speaker is Janelle Johnson. Following Ms. Johnson, we have Jamal Wiley.
Sergeant Michael Opedal told WFAA that everyone in jail, despite being incarcerated, remains a part of our community. They are temporarily housed in the system, but eventually rejoin society. We're going to be honest and look at the facts, considering joining this deadly force. Using my brother's case, just as an example, out of the 170 new hires, that there are a 10 to 15% chance that they're going to be complicit of a murder, based off the facts of my brother's case. It's hard to see how there could be true community involvement when he has yet to release the full video showing how they truly operate and the deadly culture you will be exposed to. He also mentioned having many internal promotional opportunities, which explains why Mr. Jaquavius Simmons could easily quit, knowing he played a role in the death according to the medical examiner. And others involved have been able to keep their positions, like Charles Eckert, who has been celebrated and lied about his sudden retirement. And yet, everybody here voted for Wayborn and merit raise, essentially supporting how he runs things and showing he's financially backed in continuing this. I also encourage the Tarrant County residents to read the latest article of the Texas Tribune regarding O'Hare and how we've allowed a man with a finance and law degree to cost taxpayers millions of dollars, all because he prefers to protect his ego rather than face the truth and use the law to prevent deaths and suffering cost to families. I will continue on to say this. The truth is going to come out whether you guys like it or not. And everybody's inactivity, I'm holding this, every last one of you guys will be responsible, including up to the DA. Residents, you need to know that the cost and the death of my brother is about to cost you guys millions, and they're blocking it. Yeah, that is a very eerie and very good graphic, because that's what is going to be happening over this residence.
Mr. Wiley. Is Mr. Wiley present? All right, now Mr. Wiley. Bishop Kirkland. From Mr. Kirkland, we have Carolina Rodriguez. That's not tomorrow.
On active duty, I should tell people that I was from Dallas because people knew nothing about Fort Worth other than the pathetic Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. No one knew anything about Fort Worth. But now because of William Martin, Officer John Romer, Officer Courtney Johnson, Jackie Craig Adams, Officer Marine Anthony Johnson Jr., Chastity Bonner, we are on the map for certain now. When I signed up to speak each term, I signed a statement about decorum, meaning dignity, propriety, modesty, correctness. Most of what I see in this chamber is wickedness, evil, darkness, arrogance, tomfoolery, self-centered, and Napoleon Little Man syndrome. This is not China. You desire to be public officials. If you want to be public officials, you have to be able to stand the heat or get out of the kitchen. I understand you must maintain order, and that's not always easy. But to sit with a gavel in your hand does not give you the right to speak to the way that you spoke to that Johnson young lady a couple of weeks ago. Anthony Johnson was a Marine and a member of our village. He was a person. He is not a settlement. He is not a check. He is not a case number. He was her brother. Your Honor, they voted for your salary increase of $224,190.72 with an auto allowance of $17,640, an annual total of $241K.7. I think for $241.7K, you could listen to someone with a raised voice. I read a joke in the quarter that talked about this office is open to all, and we conduct ourselves in an ethical manner above reproach. I laughed at the statement. Instead of bullying that young lady, why not bully the sheriff to finally see the video? Certainly by now, the commissioners have seen the video. Certainly by now, you've seen it. And if we go bully anybody, bully that clown and not that baby.
Following Ms. Rodriguez, we have Billy Wilson.
There's a lot going on, so so I didn't even realize that the sheriff wanted to have a private company come in and take over the jail. Kind of pass the buck. But private companies that take over our jails, they're there for a profit. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to be trying to make a profit, and it's going to be at the expense of the workers there. They're going to pay their workers really not that much, and the benefits are going to be non-existent. And then he's got this huge pay raise that he's getting, but he wants to take the jail and put it off, like he wants someone else to run it. I don't think he's worth the money that they're wanting to pay him, or he's wanting to get paid. But a lot of people in the audience and all over town, we have a lot of ideas to help him with his jail, but he doesn't seem to take us up on it. One of the ideas I had was I took 3 days of the inmates, people that were coming into the jail. There's like 140 they arrest every day. 25 of those on average are DUIs. And there's like 8 to 12 trespassers a day. So why don't they take the Cold Springs unit and open that up as a DUI jail and get them in and out? Then they don't have to sit there for 3 days at the Tarrant County Jail and take up space. But they want them 3 days at the jail because the reason why they want them at the Tarrant County Jail is because they get money for each day that people are there. Because I don't know how many times that I've made my bond and they take me and they take me out. They put the jumpsuit on me and take me upstairs, and I have to sit up there upstairs for, I get upstairs about 10 minutes to 12 and leave at 10 minutes after 12, so it counts for 2 days. But that also costs the jail money because they have to wash the clothes. I even get my little bucket with everything I need in it. That gets thrown in the trash. So somebody's getting kicked back somewhere. I just don't know where. I haven't been able to figure it out. But also, if you're wondering why the Dallas County Jail doesn't have as many deaths as ours, it's because they have 1,600 more inmates than we do, but they don't have as many deaths at all, not even close. They only had 6 compared to our 60. It's because they actually have a hospital in their basement, staffed fully, with the emergency staff, which is really cheaper than paying all these $1 million settlements to people, I think, right? You got to weigh the cost effectiveness of it. And then the other thing that we could do is that we have all these doors that are open at the courthouses. Every other courthouse I've been to, they have one door open. So why do we have all these other doors manned? That's all those guys, 10 of them, actually could go over to the jail and work. So if we can think of all these things, I don't know why he can't think of all these things. And also, I think he was, read at something where he was wanting to do like a grant for this human trafficking stuff, right? Well, how many human traffickers has he found and actually jailed? He found 115 people that were looking for a hooker that night. He didn't find any traffickers at all. So that's another big nonsense waste of money because where are they all? I've never met a human trafficker or one that's been bullied by one or one that's even been made to be a human trafficker. I don't even know anybody like that. They're just very far few between. And I think that's really bad to throw a bunch of money at that program, the human trafficking program. He should put it back into the jail where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Good afternoon, Billy Wilson, Precinct 2. The election was not stolen. Hyder Garcia did a good job. Crystal Mason should have never been prosecuted. Anthony Johnson and Georgia Baldwin should be alive. Wrong-headedness. A democratic institution that seeks the direction of institution over the will of its citizens. I wanted to speak on some of the things that we were talking about, especially the MHMR stuff, but it really was hard to kind of follow what's going on between MHR, JPS, and the jail. It's confusing, and we would like to be able to get a good grip on that. So I decided to speak on wrong-headedness. People ask me, do you think Trump will actually implement Project 2025? I say, I don't know, but look at his speech in 2022 at the CPAC where he thanked him for the roadmap. I am more concerned with those people who are already implementing those things. Look at the state of Texas. There's a tax on education. There's a tax on the voting rights. Look at education issues in Tarrant County, Colleyville, Fort Worth. Before you Dunbar Wildcats, they coming for Dunbar. Just wait. Voter suppression under the guise of voter integrity. Project 2025 most important part was the institute that trains the minions to push forth the agenda of their will over the people. So it was no surprise that Chief Wayborn was recognized by the Claremont Institute. And I found it very ironic as I was reading why they gave him the award, that it said because of his building relationships in the community. When he won't even come talk to you. Won't come talk to us. I thought that very rich. I was also not surprised when I read the Texas Tribune article that she was referring to earlier, where they said that you are an example of the leadership of conservative leadership, of the future of conservative leadership. Not surprised at all. Nor was I surprised when the Republican Party sat here and reprimanded Mr. Fickens and Mr. Ramirez for voting in a way that they felt best represented their community. But they got reprimanded. Each meeting, I sit here and watch you honor your staff and talk about the great things we have in our community. And I am sure those staff people tell you one of their biggest frustrations is wrong-headed leadership. They often have ideas but feel that they can't put them forth because leadership would not support the ideas. We, the people, request that you identify the problems, set up meetings, which will include the members and the staff so that we can work on these issues before they come to the court, so that you can get our actual input, because that's how things are supposed to work in a democracy. Decarceration is our goal. And in case you forgot, by releasing nonviolent Class A misdemeanors, releasing the IDD people who should not be there anyway.
Thank you.
We would appreciate it if you follow our advice. Thank you.
All right. That's all we have signed up for public comments. Do we have any announcements or comments from the court members? All right, seeing none, with no closed meeting today, here at 12:06, we are officially adjourned for the day.